Well, good afternoon and welcome. Today is October 30th, 2023, Monday. We are here for our afternoon Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources work session with our director and other folks. There are 4 agenda items. The first is pursuing a Soul Smart designation. Secondly, we'll discuss our 2024 NOCO UMaine contract, and then the usual things that we have during these meetings, an update from our community development director and an update from our CPIR's director. My name is John Kafalis, Commissioner Chair Pro Tem, joined in person by Kristen Stevens. On the phone is Commissioner Shattuck McNally. Hello, Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Hello, good afternoon, colleagues.
Nice to hear your voice. And of course, we have our county manager, Lorinda Volker. At this time, I would like to turn it over to one of you.
Yes. Hi, Lesli, Ellis, Community Planning Infrastructure Resources Director, and I will quickly turn it over to the team here. We just have community development items on the agenda today, including an update from Frank and Matt on some oil and gas items right after these first 2 items. So Eric will go first. I believe he's handing out some handouts on the Soul Smart designation, and I'll just turn it over to
Lesli.
Eric.
Thank you.
I did bring a draft letter of commitment for.
Kind sir.
Sorry.
Yes, you know the routine.
Eric Freed, Larimer County Building Official.
Thank you.
I did bring a designation letter for our board chair to sign, but since she's remote, I suppose I'll have to wait till she gets back from wherever she is. But we had met in September and talked in general about Soul Smart and Larimer County potentially pursuing designation as a Soul Smart community, and I brought back some more information for the board. I can give you some updates on what we've been up to since then and what the next step are. So Soul Smart, to reiterate, is a national designation that's helped over 450 local governments make it faster and easier and more affordable for people to go solar. There's about 35 in Colorado, including Fort Collins, Longmont, Boulder counties, some other counties. We just had not pursued it yet. And the designation basically recognizes communities that have taken steps to foster the growth of solar. And as part of the process, they will give you technical assistance from the Soul Smart folks. So we discussed this at September 18th work session and got general approval from the board to look into this more and pursue designation. I met with the planning manager, who then assigned one of our planners, Jared C., to work as the Soul Smart lead for planning. Jared was looking forward to being here. But he's out sick today, so he won't. I then contacted Soul Smart. We set up a phone meeting with a technical person from Soul Smart on 10/18. She's already looked at our online documents, our building permits, our checklists, our land use code, and believes, as I did, that we are either already at a bronze level if we just go through the formal process. We're very close to a bronze level with certain tweaks. And then if we could get in at a bronze level, and then work towards the next level, which is silver. And we're already part of the way towards silver. And we can discuss gold and platinum at a later time, but they require some additional things that I don't know that we can do at this point. So the first step, though, is they need a community engagement letter to do anything formal. So and I have a draft of that for folks based on a template that's on their Soul Smart website. And then after they get our commitment letter, which basically just says we want to become a Soul Smart community, they'll go more in depth and look at our land use code, see if there's any barriers in the land use code, look at our building permitting documents, look at other things. And then they'll tell us if we already have enough points to be bronze level or what we need, how many points we have total and what we need to get to silver. So the advantage of this too is they would be looking at our processes and our codes and saying, you may not realize, but there's this problem on part of your land use code that works against solar, or you could look at your building permitting and do it this way, and that might make it easier. So that's the free technical assistance they would be giving us. So this is from their PowerPoint they gave us. The commitment letter is the first step. And then for each designation level, whether it's bronze, silver, gold, there are certain prerequisites, and then you have to earn points. And those are the 5 categories: permitting and inspections, basically the building division, planning and zoning, basically our planning division, government operations, that's the Board of Commissioners and facilities and our other government operations folks. Then there's also other points available in community engagement and market development. And we can look at all that, but I've been looking at it in terms of what's the minimum number of points we need to get to bronze? Where do we get those most easily? Where's the points we need to get to silver? So this again just summarizes the different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Platinum's a new category. I don't know that anyone's in platinum yet. For bronze, we need at least 20 points in permitting and inspections, 20 points from planning and zoning, and 60 points total. So that means 20 points from somewhere other than permitting and planning and zoning. So the bronze requirements, again, we have that commitment letter, and I have a draft that I provided to you, which I thought the easiest thing to do would be to have a board chair, Shattuck McNally, sign it on behalf of the board if the board is interested in pursuing this. It's not a formal, it doesn't commit us to any spending or revenue, so it doesn't need the attestation by the county clerk.
If you are okay with this letter, we can submit this next week on the consent agenda, and then the chair can sign. It'll just get approved on the consent agenda as routine.
Okay. Do you want me to put it on a consent
good with
agenda?
that.
Okay. Okay. The other prerequisites for bronze are an online checklist detailing the required building permit submittals and steps for small rooftop solar. As I'll show you in a minute, we already have a document that explains that, but I think we probably have to turn it more into a checklist with check boxes. So that's pretty easily done. And then review the zoning requirements and identify any restrictions that intentionally or unintentionally, I would say unintentionally, prohibit solar development. We've already looked at that somewhat. SolarSmart's taken a cursory look at it. I don't see that that's going to be a problem because we do allow solar as a use by right in virtually every zone, maybe not in the airport zone, but it only has to be in all major zones. And then 20 points in each of those categories. So just to give you a sense of what we already have on the building side, if you go to our website for building handouts, there's a whole place for solar. There's an online, there's a solar permit that's specific to solar, which gets you points. You can apply for the solar permit online, and it's reviewed online. That gets you points. So we just need a few tweaks to that. Those are some of the documents. We already have the solar application, the checklist, information on accessory solar. For the permitting and inspection criteria, when you look at it, I would say we've already got several of these. We have a standard solar application. There's only one application required for small rooftop solar. There's an online process. That's 30 points right there, just between those first couple ones. Receive a demonstration of solar app. We've gotten that before, and we can get that again. The only reason we're not going to solar app right now, that's a automated solar permitting process, is we're looking at EnerGov as a whole. Are we going to keep that system? Are we going to reboot that system? What are we going to do? We have to finish that part up before we look at any plugins to the EnerGov system. So we might do that later, but we can't do that right now. Residential solar fees are capped at 500 or less. That's state law, so that's an easy 5 points. Commercial permit fees, when they're above a certain level, are capped at $1,000. That's pretty easy, 10 points, I think. We have an online checklist. So I think we already have easily over 20 points and probably closer to 50 points that without even doing very much. But certainly we can look at everything and get as many points as we can. In terms of planning and zoning, again, the requirement is to review the zoning requirements and identify any restrictions. So once we get SolarSmart a commitment letter and they look over our codes, they're going to tell us if we already beat that or what we need to do. And we present the findings to the Planning Commission, so it would be smart to go to the Planning Commission anyway and inform them that we're pursuing SolarSmart designation, and here's what's involved on the planning side. Codifying the zoning ordinance that accessory use rooftop solar is allowed. Again, we can look through our zoning ordinances and make sure if there are things in there that unintentionally restrict things, we can look at that. There was, I know, some communication with the commissioners recently about maybe we're allowing accessory solar ground mount to be too high at some zoning districts. We had that complaint. So that's something we could consider. If we were to respond to the neighbors the way they want, that might actually be additional impediments to solar. So that's something to weigh. So when you look through all this, we're already I think we already have enough points. We certainly, I think, already have the 20 points or could tweak them just a little bit to get the 20 points. And then there's a whole bunch of other things when we look at that we might be able to get enough points to move us towards silver. So then the other thing we need to even get bronze is 20 points from any other category. Well, under Government Operations 1, install solar PV at local government facilities. We already do that, thanks to you and prior boards of county commissioners, and that is a picture of this building with the solar rooftop PV. And then we have ground mount solar out at the landfill. And I know that the commissioners, every time new projects come up, are looking at renewable energy. Can we put solar on the building? What would it take? So it seems to me we would already get the 20 points that we need for bronze. And then as we move forward and look at putting solar on additional government buildings or underused properties or brownfields, there's an additional number of points there as well. So when I look at this and when SolSmart looks at it, that's why we feel like we either already have bronze or we could very easily achieve a bronze level with a few tweaks. And we're pretty far along in terms of what we would need to get silver designation. Those are the silver requirements looking down the line. You meet all the bronze requirements, train permitting staff on best practices for permitting and inspections. We've done some training, but it would be advantageous for us to have a training with SolSmart, and that gets you 20 points there. You complete one of the following 2 planning documents, either something that states that accessory use rooftop solar is allowed or codified in the zoning ordinance. That's fairly simple. And then post a solar landing page with goals, educational materials, and tools. We have a little bit of a solar page on the building side. There's the sustainability page that's in the commissioner's web. So we could figure out where to best put that. But that's also easily done. So I don't see any huge problems in getting to silver either. So that's really all I had. Hopefully that gives you more of a flavor of what is required for the different levels, what we're already doing. If the commissioners wanted to pursue this, the first step would be to sign that commitment letter, which I'll send through on consent. And then SolSmart would get started doing a more in-depth analysis of where we're at, giving us a rating and telling us what we need to do.
Eric, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll begin with Commissioner Stevens. I think you have some questions, comments?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Eric. This is great. This is great work, and I'm glad we're so far along in the process to already be at bronze and maybe close to silver is great. Can you remind me if there's a cost? There's no cost to this?
No, there's no cost to us. It's a free service they provide. I think it's funded through the Department of Energy or some other grant money.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I wondered if they were a nonprofit or how they operated. Okay, well, even better, because we'd rather spend that money on trying to achieve these goals than to join some kind of membership. But yeah, no, I'm very supportive. Happy to see this come forward on our consent agenda, and look forward to helping people in our community do this. I just added solar to my house, so I'm a big proponent. So
I think that's worth 10 points if one of the
okay, there you
commissioners
go. See, look at
solar
that.
on
I've
their
already
DG. Okay, well, there,
helping.
I have solar on my house too. So.
Thank you, Kristen. Jody, are there any questions or comments, insights that you wish to offer at this time?
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Eric, thank you for bringing this forward. I remember when you brought it up before, it seemed really like a no-brainer to me. I appreciate you explaining the details and the points. It sounds like we're really on track to gain this certification. I support this. I did before. When you brought it the first time, I appreciate you bringing more information back, and I'm okay with it being on consent, and appreciate you looking into these opportunities and the work that we do together. That's all I have to say. Thanks, Commissioner Gonzalez.
You're welcome, Commissioner Shattuck McNally. County Manager Lorenda, do you have anything you'd like to share before I offer my comments?
I think this is so in line with the Climate Smart and Future Ready plan and the internal iCare plan. This is the next step, I think, in taking this forward. We're already doing the work, and so why not be recognized and be part of this group and take advantage of their resources that they have to offer, the training and the model programs. So, yeah, this is a easy thing to say. Let's go.
Thank you, Lorenda. I have a couple of questions, and I would concur with my colleagues, nevertheless, that we should move forward with this effort. So thank you for gathering all the information, and Rebecca as well. My questions are as follows. First of all, regarding, well, yeah, a fundamental question is, so it's nice to get all these points. What is that? So what? What does it mean if we get platinum or bronze or silver? What are the points? How does that benefit the county to get a bronze, silver, or perhaps platinum someday designation?
Well, I think it just indicates to the public that we are open to and welcoming of solar development. So it kind of puts out the welcome mat. The other thing is, by going through the Soul Smart process, they can help us look at our building and planning processes and see if there are ways we could be more efficient, if we could remove any obstacles to solar permitting, if there's ways we could do it faster, if there's things in the land use code. So that's the benefit, the technical, but then also it's just a matter of letting the world know that Larimer County is open for business in terms of solar development, and that we're walking the walk too by putting solar on our own facilities.
Thank you. And then my second question, and I think that's all I have, and that is the technical assistance will be critical, really valuable. Certainly get that. Would the technical assistance include guidance or further advice on, for example, how we can better market the CPACE program in Larimer County? I mean, that's an example of something that I'm wondering if technical assistance would be included. Eric, you mentioned about government operations, and you cited the solar panels on top of this building and some other efforts. Would it also include how we might expand that type of solar technology on, county-owned land? I mean, for example, there's been at least conceptual discussion about once we close the current landfill, that there may be some opportunities to consider some type of appropriate solar array there. Would that be included in the technical assistance? And even, the last part of that is, a lot of discussion about agrivoltaics and those kinds of things. Could that be included? Those kinds of opportunities, would they be included as part of the technical assistance, or if we ask?
Right. I mean, I believe so. I think they have people that they're working with that know all about not just installing solar, but marketing solar and interconnections with the grid. So I can certainly ask about that, but I believe they have a wealth of information on all these areas, government operations, marketing, community engagement, that they could help us with.
Thank you. And finally, to make sure, the reference to Climate Smart, Future Ready, and our iCare internal sustainability, to make sure that whatever technical assistance they provided, it would also include maybe a review of our Climate Smart, Future Ready, to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned as far as our goals there in those documents regarding renewable energy and all of that. That's all.
I can certainly ask, but I think they're eager to help us do everything to promote solar. And they work with a lot of
And they
technically
wouldn't just
smart
be
people.
looking at residential or public sector, they'd look at commercial opportunities. That's where CPACE comes in
Right.
and things like that.
I can certainly ask.
That doesn't hurt to ask. That is all I
To that-
have.
to that
Anything
point-
else, colleagues? Yes, Leslie?
I was just going to say, to that point, Commissioner, Dwayne Penny at the landfill is currently studying the feasibility and possibility of putting solar on the closed landfill going forward. We know that's something of interest.
Thank you, Leslie. Anything else on this topic?
No, thank you for your support. I'll be bringing this forward to consent on admin matters, hopefully for next week.
Well done, sir. I believe now we can move on to discussion of our contract, our 2024 contract with the
Yes.
Northern Colorado NOCO Humane Society.
Correct, and this will be Amy White, and this is our annual contract with the organization that was formerly known as Larimer Humane Society, and after the merger with Weld County, their name change is reflected now as NOCO Larimer, or NOCO Humane Society. So this is the contract that deals with payments and operations for the coming year.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Amy White, Code Compliance Supervisor. And for some reason, the NOCO Humane rests with code compliance. I think in the past, we were responsible for barking dogs, and that era has passed. So every year we bring the contract to you all for approval. I think you'll remember this past summer that Judy Calhoun, the director, and Rigo Nera, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, who's the animal protective officer, came and gave you a little bit of background on what they do and how they do it and the services that are offered. So yes, as Leslie mentioned, we're now NOCO Humane rather than the Humane Society. The services will remain the same for the coming year. The price has gone up just under $20,000 for those same services, which in keeping with everything else, inflationary-wise, makes sense. So I also wanted to make sure that you all know that they have guaranteed that the funds that Larimer County gives NOCO will not be used for the Weld County site. So we have been guaranteed that. I know a lot of people had some questions around that, but they have guaranteed us that moving forward. There have been a couple Scribner's errors that we've noticed. There was a 2023 that didn't get updated to 2024. There were a couple paragraphs that were repetitive, so we're still making a couple of those changes, but substantively the contract remains the same as it has for several years.
Thank you, Ms. Amy White, Code Compliance Supervisor Extraordinaire. Commissioner Stevens, do you have any questions, comments, observations?
Just want to thank Amy for your work with this. And just to say, and thanks for the reminder that we're only paying for services in Larimer County, even though Weld is part of the organization now. And, just to speak just briefly to the work that they do for us, I mean, they answer a lot of calls for us. They have 24/7 services. And it's not just about barking dogs. They actually house animals in domestic violence situations. They house animals in emergency situations. And so they go out of their way to work with people who are older and maybe can't take care of their pets. There's a lot of services they provide the community beyond just the barking dog scenario. Pick up animals on the road. They do some of the work that is not always pleasant too. And so I'm just really grateful for the services they provide. And I would encourage people who don't understand all their services to go and visit, because they do provide some really nice services for our community. And also the fact that they incorporate something like 500 volunteers into their organization, which probably helps keep our costs lower too, but for all the people that volunteer there. And people do anything from take dogs for a walk and play with them to petting animals and feeding animals and all kinds of training. So it's a good bang for our buck. I know the cost has gone up, but really grateful for what they do for our community. So.
If I may, yes, they send me a quarterly report of all the contacts they've had with Larimer County folks, and as part of that, Commissioner Stevens, is also euthanization, which is also a difficult thing, sometimes by request, sometimes because there's no other option. So yes, thank you. The work that they do is tremendous and appreciated, and they're so easy to work with. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and just to speak to the euthanization, I mean, they don't end up having to do a lot of that, honestly, because we're a community that welcomes a lot of pets. If you visit anyone's house in Fort Collins, I'm sure you will find some kind of critter there. And, so in fact, they take in pets from other places because of that. And they know that we have a good placement rate. And so, and they're able to segregate pets that have health issues or, so really they do very good work, but thank you, Amy.
And one more thing, now that you're mentioning the services, they do help us in the emergency disaster arena as well. And heaven knows we've had enough of those, but for their services and help with that would be another huge consideration.
Yes, they have a barn and they can take animals, goat and sheep size and smaller.
Yep.
That's my understanding. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that dialogue. I'm glad you brought up those those points, Commissioner, and thank you, Amy. I was going to mention about their role in supporting our efforts when there is a disaster emergency, so thank you about that. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, do you have any questions, comments, observations?
Thank you, Commissioner Kafalis. Thank you, Amy White. I appreciate the work that you do and the relationship you have with NELCO Humane. I'm a big fan of the work they do. I was going to bring up all the points that Commissioner Stevens had brought up. They do a lot of work. I think it is a really good investment for our community. And for someone who lives in unincorporated Larimer County and recently had some deer that did not meet a good outcome, I appreciate that they take care of that for us. So I just have to say, I think this is a great partnership, and I think they're well known for being a great organization and exemplary, and I'm glad that we're, I know costs go up, but I think we're really getting a great value with this contract and with our work with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those comments. I have two questions, and then I don't know if Lorinda wants to add anything. One is, what is the level of collaboration, if any, with some of the other nonprofits in the community, such that work more with raptors, for example, the Rocky Mountain Raptor Program, or the Northern Colorado Wildlife Center, or perhaps even the Bird Conservancy? Is there some level of cooperation? Because I know they all deal with the wild stuff and these folks deal with the domestic stuff, but how does that work?
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't have an answer right now, but I'd be happy to look into that. That would be more of their day-to-day operations, which we don't really get involved with. But I can certainly find out for you,
I'd be
Commissioner.
curious to know more about that, because I would assume, for example, if an animal control officer is out on the road, sees a raptor that's been hit by a car, somehow there must be a mechanism in place to inform the raptor program, or maybe they could take it in temporarily until the raptor program comes to figure out if they can rehabilitate the animal. So I'd be curious about that. And then my second question is, so given that there seem to be some editing changes that need to be to this contract, what are the next steps? When will this will be on our consent agenda for next Tuesday, or will it take a little time to clean up the document?
No, I think it'll be ready for next week's consent agenda. We've passed it back and forth. The county attorney's office has taken a look and approved it from their perspective. So there's just a couple that we found and that Rigo found this morning. So it should be ready to roll.
Great. Thank you for answering my questions, Amy. Lorinda, is there anything you'd like to add?
I guess I'll say for the vast listening audience, without this contract, we would have to have these facilities and these services and the staff to do this work. Because we contract with the experts in the community, like other municipalities do, we take advantage of everyone paying into one system. And so while they do fundraising for many things they do, these contracts are really important because we don't all have to have animal control offices. So thank you for negotiating again. You're always a great negotiator, and look forward to getting this approved.
Perfect.
That's great. I always appreciate your insightful county manager perspective. Well, then I believe we're done with this item. Well done, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, you all as well.
We can now move on to item 3, Community Development Director Update. And we have some really cool people that just came to the table.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will pass it quickly over to Matt Lafferty, our Principal Planner, and Frank Haug with our Attorney's Office to provide an update related to oil and gas matters.
Thanks. Hello, Commissioners. Matt Lafferty, Principal Planner, Community Development Department. Thanks for hearing us out today. Last Thursday, I sent an email to you all regarding a application that was received by the Energy and Carbon Management Commission at the state of Colorado regarding a variance that Prospect Energy is seeking to continue flaring activities up at the Hearth Fire well on the north end of Fort Collins, just south of Douglas Road. We wanted to bring it to your attention that, we asked for a little over a year now that the flaring activities cease and that they provide adequate documentation to the state about how they're going to contain natural gas that's received on that well or to use it productively. And to this point, the state finally had required them to come into compliance and shut the well down from flaring until such time that they can do that gas capture plan. In looking at the application that was submitted to the state, it looks like Prospect Energy is going to make the argument that it's not feasible to extend their gas lines into Weld County to cause gas capture, and that they don't have a viable or a sufficient amount of natural gas to cause use on the site through generators or other things to use that gas, and they're going to ask for a variance to continue flaring. Given our position for the last year and a half, we're going to ask for party status, and we're going to pursue this variance and suggest that the well be shut in until such time that the applicant can come up with a viable option for containing that natural gas in a manner that is other than flaring. And we're doing that primarily for two reasons. One, we're in a non-attainment zone, and we want to improve our capacity in that non-attainment zone and try to improve that. But secondly, the Hearthfire well is directly associated with a bunch of residential housing in the area. Fort Collins continues to develop housing up in that northern region. We have a lot of agricultural activity and other housing in the area, and we want to make sure that those members of our community are getting the maximum protection that we can provide. Would there be any questions of you all?
Thank you, Matt. Before we go to questions, Frank, is there anything you wanted to add?
That's why I
Okay.
bought him.
Commissioner Stevens, any questions or comments?
Just thank you for staying on top of this, and absolutely, we don't want them to be able to get a variance to continue flaring, and it's not really our problem that they don't have a use for those, the fuels to be able to capture that. They need to figure that out, and it's something that, especially with its proximity to housing, it's just, it's a health hazard, and it's a no-no, and they know they're not supposed to do it, so thank you for staying on top of it. I appreciate it. And thanks for informing the public too. I know that they'll be happy to know that we are not accepting their answer.
Yeah. Commissioner Stevens, and you brought up a good point, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we'll act as a party status, and it will be the decision of the state whether or not the variance is approved or not, but we will take every effort that we can to make our position known.
Right, and thank you for reminding us that the Oil and Gas Commission has changed its name.
Yes.
And you had it flow right off your tongue, so you're used to it, I suppose.
I had to read it, but, thank you.
Thanks, colleagues. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, any comments or questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I am very much in favor of us filing interested party status on this. I am completely against them continuing to flare at this site. This has been a problem. This is really important that we stand up for those community members in that neighborhood. They've had to deal with this flaring, and I really want to strongly state I'm very concerned about the safety, health, and welfare of that community if these folks are so able to flare, and I'm really grateful, Matt and Frank, for your work and staying on top of this very much. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad I can say we're going to continue this, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have two questions. My first question is, in reviewing the document that you sent us, thank you, what I can recall is one of the points or the data that was being provided by the oil and gas provider was their diminishing production. I mean, over the last number of years, it's gone down rather significantly. So related to that, my question would be, at what point does it become economically impractical for them to keep that thing operating? At what point would they consider closing it down?
That's a viable question, and I think as long as the production numbers are high on capturing oil, because that's the predominant use of the well is to get the oil out of there. The natural gas is just another product that's coming out of there, and they're burning that off because they don't have any viable use for it.
So the data that they were showing us in the document, was that on their oil production or on their gas production or
That
both?
was the natural gas production that
Oh,
was
that's
coming
what's
off.
really, okay, I think I understand.
But the well continues to have a high production rate on oil.
Oil. Okay. Then my second question is, would this situation be an example where the use of our new technology from our public health folks, the infrared camera, to go out there and perhaps see what level of methane emissions are occurring, would this be an appropriate use of that infrared camera that might help inform the discussions as we request party status?
Well, now that they have the well done, shut in, and it's no longer producing, there's no flaring activity going on, so there should be no emissions that are coming off of that well at this point. And the camera, the infrared camera that we purchased is to identify those emissions. They are using that camera on a regular basis and going out and testing it on oil and gas facilities now to find out where there are minor leaks associated with equipment and whatnot. And so we have put that into productive use. And if you would all like, I would ask the health department maybe that they provide some sort of a show how that camera works one of these days.
Well, thank you, Matt, and leave it up to the group, but we have seen videos of how that infrared camera works, and it's very telling. And certainly, thank you for clarifying that it's shut in, therefore there aren't any overt emissions. I think sometimes there's a concern that even if things are shut in, there still might be some leakage. But I appreciate that clarification. And should they get the variance, that means they can start flaring again?
If the state grants the variance, then they could flare again. But flaring in this case, and in many of these cases, they have equipment, it's called a combustor unit. And the natural gas is run through a combustor unit in which it's burnt. And it's burnt in a confined chamber, and it destroys the emissions up to 98%. So about 2% is coming out of it. And that's what our regs call for as well. It's just that there's such a high volume that's going in there that it's not normal. Typically, what's getting burned off is just very small amounts of natural gas that's coming out of there, or methane.
Thank you very much, sir. Anything else, colleagues, on this topic?
Commissioner Kfals, I'd just like to say that, none of this effort is just me. It's Frank. It's also Leah over at Snyder over at the Health Department. She does a lot of work on this. We get a lot of assistance from Rebecca, Leslie, and Lori. So it's a big team effort, and we talk about these issues a lot.
And
So thank you to them as well.
I think I'm safe to say on behalf of our group, we are very grateful for your efforts and your teamwork, 100% and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great. You all have a nice afternoon, too. Let's see. Oh, is there anything else, Community Development Director?
I do not have any other updates for today. Thank you.
And back to me again. My only update is to put in a plug for the upcoming Water Master Plan public meeting on Monday evening for our vast listening public who may be interested in that also. So it's from 6 to 8 at our Loveland campus facility on Peridot in the Big Thompson room. And the purpose of the meeting will be to discuss the vision and goals for the Water Master Plan. And then that information will be coming to you all and the Planning Commission on Wednesday next week to talk about what we've learned so far from the public and from our committees and the consultant and staff team who've been working on this to share that with you and also give you an opportunity to help shape it and give your ideas and feedback.
Thank you, Leslie. And did you say that final water planning series presentation is this Wednesday?
This is the water plan, and then we have a water series, water education series meeting on November 16th. That's the last one of 4. That's happening on the 16th back here at the county building.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, because one of my questions was, it seemed like the last 2 have been, of the water education series, have been in the Loveland office, and this will be the final one, but I thought that was also meant to be like a wrap-up of what we've learned and where do we go from here?
It is. It's a next steps conversation, and Lori will be part of that presentation on behalf of the county and then with other presenters as well.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. Colleagues, any other questions or requests for clarification or anything?
No, Commissioner Gonzalez, may I just say thank you all, and thank you to the team, and great work, and I just really am grateful for all the efforts you do and keeping us informed. And I just wish you all a happy Halloween, and I will be unfortunately needing to sign off now, and please everyone take care.
Be well, Commissioner, and safe travels and adventures.
Thank you.
Well, is there anything else, colleagues?
There is
My
not.
goodness.
Good afternoon.
Then at 2:11 p.m., we are adjourned.